The following program contains discussion of EN server story content, which will contain some spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised. If Truck-kun picked me to be its next victim and I ended up in Twisted Wonderland, there's a not-so-slim chance I'd be burnt to a crisp upon arrival. But if I wasn't, and I somehow managed to survive for long enough, would I be able to get to know the main cast? Who would be my friend? Who would be my foe? And who might be something more? Like family. Yeah, we may be at a college, but this isn't a dating sim, and even if it were, there's only one correct choice. So I'm adapting the ever-popular FMK model to FFF for friend, foe, or family. The friend and foe categories are self-explanatory, but for family, I'll be deciding which of the three I'd want to be siblings with if I spawned into the universe naturally. And since gacha is life, all of the character matchups have been decided by good old RNG. However, there is one small problem still. There are 23 members of the main cast, but I need 24 folks to make this an even split. So I crammed a whole bunch of other folks into a wheel to decide who our last potential friend, foe, or family member would be, and we got Marja. So at some point, Marja will also be popping up. I also decided to give myself a dorm just in case I was having too hard a time choosing between folks, since I figure someone in Heartslable would be more likely to be friends with their fellows and enemies with other folks, or something along those lines. So now that we have our 24 characters and our dorm affiliation, let's see who's up in round 1. We have Jack, Jamil, and Ruggy. What a lineup! I feel like Ruggy and Jamil are very similar characters in that they're both shrewd and don't mind getting their hands dirty. We see them work together very well in Glorious Masquerade to screw over some of the other students, thus ensuring their own survival. And the two of them are very, very much on the same page during that whole debacle. But next to those two is Goody Two-Shoes Jack, whose strong morals would have absolutely stood in the way of that specific scenario. Considering the three together in this context, I think there is one person who I very much would not want to be my foe. Jamil is a little scary with his mind control and scheming, and I'd really like to stay on his good side. Narrowing down my foe to Jack or Ruggy, I'd have to take Ruggy on as my foe. I do think Ruggy and I could be friends, since we both have the same if it's free, it's for me mentality. But I can also see that becoming a point of contention between us. If we're both trying to get as much free stuff as possible, potentially from the same source, we're bound to get into a few scuffles. I likely won't win these, but I do think that this makes him my logical enemy. Now, is Jack or Jamil going to be my family? I honestly don't want to be caught up in the Viper Alasim family drama if I can help it, and in this case, I can. Plus, I think having Jack as a brother would just be such a fun time. He'd be great to tease given how serious he can be, but he would also have your back as long as he thinks you're in the right, which is a great dependable quality to have. With Jamil as my friend, I could reap all of the benefits of a relationship with him without being held to the same standards his and Kalim's family have for him, which sounds like a win-win to me. I can maybe help Jamil out a little bit by getting Kalim off his back every once in a while. And perhaps Jamil could give me some cooking lessons as well. I'd go to his basketball games to support him, and I think that we'd just have a great time overall. So we're gonna end round 1 with Jamil as my friend, Ruggy as my foe, and Jack as my family. In round 2, we have Ortho, Silver, and our wild card of Marja. I really didn't think we would see Marja this soon, but so it goes. However, because she's included, I feel like she would have to be my family, unless I got invited to the Sled-a-thon, in which case I think we could totally be besties. However, I can't really imagine a scenario where Marja and I would become foes. Like, do I insult Apple's hair or something, and that just puts me on Marja's list? Does she come to visit the school and then it's on site between the two of us? I think that would be hilarious, but I also don't think it's super realistic, unless maybe Apple and I became friends and Marja for some reason didn't approve of me, and because of that, her and I end up having mini petty passive-aggressive battles. I think that that could also be comedic, but It may also strain my relationship with Ethel because he's very dedicated to his family, so if his grandma doesn't like me, I wonder if he might then have second thoughts. I don't know. I'd like to name Marja my foe just to make my other two choices easier, but I don't really feel comfortable actually naming her, so... Okay, I think Marja's just going to be my family. That's where we're gonna put her. Which means I have to make the hardest decision I've had to make so far. Which isn't saying that much since we're only on round 2. But I don't want either Silver or Ortho as my foe. Silver is such a sweetie and Ortho's a doll. How could I pick between them? Silver is essentially a Disney princess incarnate who gives everyone the benefit of the doubt and a due consideration. He's quite level-headed, although a bit spacey, but he is a source of calm which I think is exceptionally important at NRC. On the other hand, Ortho is doing his best to become a real boy and understand emotions, and I think that his overall cheery attitude, coupled with his logical approach to most situations, would also make him a great friend. At the end of the day, I think my hypothetical life would be much harder if I was foes with Ortho rather than Silver, given all of Ortho's talents. But I do like some of the other Dsomniac characters, so being Silver's foe would essentially dash my chances at befriending the rest of them. Meanwhile, Ortho not liking me probably only means that a potential friendship with Edia is off the table, which doesn't feel like that much of a loss. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate Edia at all. I just think that if I didn't already know that he existed, I probably would never run into him anyways, particularly with my theoretical placement in Hearts level. Given that, I think I'd be friends with Silver and foes with Ortho. I'll just get rid of my phone and never touch the internet again. It'll be fine. It's all gonna work out in the end, I'm sure. And every once in a while, I'll also get sent an apple juice or two from Marja, which is a fantastic boon. So round 2 ends with Silver as my friend, Ortho as my foe, and Marja as my family. And now in round 3, we have Vil, Lilia, and Jade. The wheel was not being kind to me at all. I don't want to be on the wrong side of any of these guys. My goodness. But I absolutely want to be friends with Lilia, no question. He is just so fun and spontaneous, you'd never know that he's over 500. Yet, because of that, he also has 500 years plus of wisdom to share. Karaoke nights are going to be ridiculously fun, cooking will be an experience, and the tea will always be scalding. I'm not letting this opportunity to be friends slip right on by, and since I was also technically friends with Silver, I think I won't have any issues here. The problem, yet again, lies with who I want to be my foe, but it's a little easier this time around, I think. Vil disliking me could lead to many an awkward interaction, and it may or may not also lead to a certain other someone monitoring my activities. But I'd much rather deal with that than the repercussions of getting on Jade's bad side, given his talents. Jade effortlessly gathered intel on presumably hundreds of students, can sneak up on anyone anywhere, and has a very clearly defined sadistic side. Vil may not like my hair, but Jade will mess with you just for the fun of it. Not that he doesn't also do this to and with Floyd, but I feel that their sibling relationship does provide a bit of a buffer or boundary from Jade's darker tendencies. Also, if I was family with Jade, that means I'd get to be a mer person, and I could live in the ocean, which is worth way more than the positive relationship with Vil, to me anyways. Would I, as I am, survive the cold, deep North Sea? No, absolutely not. But I would have a fabulous time until my certain demise. I may or may not be more excited at the possibility of living underwater than I am at having Jade be my brother. But you know, now that I've thought about it a little bit, this round really wasn't that hard. Vil may dislike me, but there's no way I draw his ire as much as Nej does, so I think I would be safe overall. I can deal with some tongue clucking every once in a while, and some preening if Vil finds it absolutely necessary, like he does with Leona's vest buttons in Leona's school uniform vignette. So I think my school life would be really enjoyable overall. We'll end round 3 with Lilia as my friend, Vil as my foe, and Jade as my family. For round 4, we have Floyd, Rook, and Azul. This works out fantastically. Floyd would also be my family, Azul by our mutual existences would be my friend, and Rook would be my foe, given that Vil is also my foe. Sure, Rook can be creepy and determined, but with the big scary dog privilege of the Twils backing me, I think I'd be fine. Particularly if I ended up being a younger sibling of the Eel brothers. The teasing I would have to have endured growing up would eventually, hopefully, pay off with their protection against Rook. At least that would be my hope. But there is no way that I'm giving up, under any circumstances, my theoretical life under the sea. It's not happening. Not even for the Bard. Not even if he hunts me into the sunset. I could swap Rook with Azul, since I think that would add a lot of hilarious drama to my life. Not only from Azul, but also Vil. You know, maybe that could be a lot of fun. Maybe Rook and I have similar tastes in movies and chit-chat all the time, but my takes aren't hot enough or well thought out enough for Vil. Or maybe I'm just not of a fan of beauty overall, and that makes the two of us butt heads. For Azul's part, maybe he's jealous of my ability to endear myself into other dorms without giving him a kickback, as I really wouldn't be trying to scam anyone out of or into anything, and perhaps I could keep folks away from him to a frustrating degree, maybe. Or perhaps instead, to fit in better with my hypothetical siblings, I could also be a fan of the hunt, and in that way, Rook and I would bond. In such a scenario, perhaps I want to maybe hunt Azul for some reason, and that's why we're foes. Or instead, I've gotten close to Rook and have learned more about acting via the proximity to Vil, so now I'm able to suss out Azul in a way that maybe makes me his foe or threatens him in some way. The more I think about it, the more fun it sounds to just swap Rook and Azul. So my final answer is Rook as my friend, Azul as my foe, and Floyd as my family. Coming in for round 5, we have Apple, Leona, and Trey. I'd honestly like to be family with Leona. I know before I was family with Marja, which in theory would make me family with Apple, but who wouldn't want to be royalty if given the choice? Since I'd not be the firstborn kiddo, I'd be able to enjoy all of the privileges without any of the baggage. Though I must specify that I am not going to be a deadbeat trust fund kiddo. Rather, I wouldn't be as stressed about the politics and things of that nature. However, I would still have a better sense of duty than Leona, and I would be more conscious of my actions and how they affect the family. On the whole, I think it would be super fun to be a royal in the Sunset Savannah. None of that has really all that much to do with Leona specifically, though, does it? But the more I've learned about Leona, the more I like him as a character, and I feel like the two of us could maybe potentially bond as the black sheep of the family. I don't know. We would both be technically in the shade, given that we are not firstborns, so like maybe there's something there. Would Leona realistically care about my existence, though? No. But maybe, just maybe, I'd be able to endear myself to him in some way, and we could get up to all sorts of fun hijinks together. I don't know, but I think I'd have a great time with or without him anyways. However, I would rather us have some sort of positive relationship overall. Between Apple and Trey, then, because I'm theoretically inheartslable, Trey, in theory, should take the cake. However, Vil apparently doesn't like me based on my previous choices, which gives Apple and I a common foe. This is rather tricky indeed, but my gut is to go with Trey as my friend and Apple as my foe. Trey's got that big brother energy and could fill the void that Leona may have left. Plus, I would love to learn how to make a legitimate pie crust, because I swear every time I try, it is disastrous. I don't know if I'm not chilling it enough or what it is, but it's always messy and demoralizing. With Trey on my side, though, I'm sure I'd master it. And with me on Trey's side, I might be able to help him out with dorm-related things to give him a well-deserved break. I suppose Apple can then spit in my direction. I don't dislike him in any way, and I don't really know why he would be my foe in this context. Maybe because I'm family with Leona, but not using all of my strength to be a big, strong boy like Apple wants to be. Maybe it's a bit of jealousy. I don't think Apple is the jealous type, though. So I really don't know that we would have a strong reason to hate each other. But, you know, Apple just happened to fall in the wrong grouping, and so we are unfortunately foes. So that means that round 5 ends with Trey as my friend, Epple as my foe, and Leona as my family. Now in round 6, we have Kalim, Grim, and Deuce. Grim is my foe. That's it. That's what it comes down to. I enjoy him very much as a character, but he is a putz, and Kalim cannot be my enemy. It's not even my choice. Kalim just won't let me. I don't know what to tell you guys. That leaves Deuce, but I actually think it would be very fun to be family with him. So Grim has to be my ultimate foe. Deuce is a good bean that just happened to fall into the wrong crowd when he was younger, and while this does make him exceptionally fun now, I think perhaps a sibling might have done him a little bit of good. I would hate to put any more pressure on Dia. That gal deserves way more than a medal. But I think it could also be interesting to potentially be twinsies with Deuce. Maybe we could build blast cycles together and fight over stuffing our candy bags, or have competitions about who can hold the most grocery bags to help mom out. I don't know, whatever it is that siblings do. I think it would be a ball of fun, even with the blood, sweat, and tears of delinquency. This means that Kalim is going to be my friend. Wow, shocker. But boy, am I ever glad that he is. Again, I don't really want to get involved in the Viper Alasim situation, at least as deeply as a family member would be. And even if I was family with Kalim, I might be far removed from him depending on who my mom was, which could mean that we don't have the best of relationships even though we're technically family. I would much rather be friends with him since this allows me to get closer, and it would be fun. But I could also have the opportunity to give him some legitimate support, which is something that I think he's currently lacking. The poor guy has gone through so much, and while he doesn't seem to let it bother him, I do think that he deserves a solid shoulder to cry on who can be more real with him than Jamil can. Am I truly that person? Who's to say? But I would like to try my best anyways. Also, karaoke night is going to be mega lit with Kalim and Lilia there. It's going to be such a good time. So we'll end out round 6 with Kalim as my friend, Grim as my foe, and Deuce as my family. In round 7, we have Sebek, Iria, and Ace. So here's the thing, I'm not the biggest fan of Sebek. However, Ortho is also technically my foe at this point, so Iria could easily fill the foe slot as well. I do suppose that the point of these types of considerations is to take them at face value in a vacuum by only considering the choices right in front of you. And I think here I've got to do just that, because I just can't with Sebek. I really can't. I don't think I would ever get used to his yowling. I don't know how Malleus and Lilia are able to stand next to the dude when he's shouting with their sensitive Fey hearing, because even with my human ears, I don't think that I would survive. While Sebek has many good qualities and a hell of a lot of determination, I just don't see circumstances where the two of us are anything other than foes. A human or mer person trying to get close to Malleus? One who may or may not be related to the Leech twins, which is technically considering the past choices, which is a thing I'm not supposed to be doing right now. But in any case, I imagine Sebek's answer is going to be, oh hell no. It would be on site for the both of us, no question, which then leaves Iria and Ace as my choices for friend and family. I don't really want Ace for either of these roles. I don't feel strongly enough about him to place him in either friend, foe, or family. His character is very interesting, but he's just not my favorite, and I feel like I personally would be avoiding him if I were in the game as I am. But given my hypothetical placement in Heartslable, I do think the most logical place for him in this consideration would be friend. I'll stick him in the friend zone, that's fine, which means that Iria is my recluse brother. Does this mean I'd be surviving the Styx incident? I guess so, if I made it far enough to have Sebek as my enemy and Ace as my friend. And maybe it'll earn me some brownie points with Riddle, since I would be, at least in his eyes, a more productive Shroud. I don't know. But this does mean that Iria would probably help me with all of my online gaming problems, and we could get really seriously down with some late night gaming sessions. And maybe we could even bond over our technological expertise, assuming that I would also have that, given I'd be a member of his family. Although I could also imagine that I would probably be more like their dad, who's a little bit more of a diplomat instead of an engineer. So maybe no to the technological expertise. However, I would definitely be joining him on his gaming sessions and we could bond over that sort of stuff. So we'll wrap up this round with Ace as my friend, Sepek as my foe, and Idia as my family. Moving on to round 8, our grand finale, we have Riddle, Malleus, and Cater. I don't want any of these guys to hate me either, and 2 of them are in Hearthstable, which makes my hypothetical dorm not quite as helpful here. I gotta be friends with Mal. There's no doubt about it. I am listening to him rant about gargoyles. I am giving him a hug when he's freezing ramshackle. And overall, I just think that he would be a great person to hang out with. He may not understand humanity that well, but that's okay. I get it. I can teach him about the humans, and it can be a great time. We can have tea and chat, and I can invite him to the unbirthday parties. It would be such a fun time. So between Riddle and Cater now, I really don't know who to name what. Both have positives and both have negatives to both the family and foe roles, and I don't really see a clear greater evil. If I was family with Cater, my upbringing would likely be easier, but being Riddle's foe, given that I'm also hypothetically in his dorm, is still a pretty terrifying prospect. However, being family with Riddle isn't all that much easier, as I doubt Riddle would be giving you any special treatment just because you're in the dorm and related to him, not that I would want it, and also considering his mother, it would probably be a very rough road to even get there. Cater has more technical know-how to wreck my life in a similar but not as dramatic way as Ortho if he were to be my enemy. Although all of that said, having Riddle as my foe is looking a little better. I could always transfer dorms, but you can't transfer mothers. I guess, although perhaps having a fellow sufferer might help Riddle's future healing, as the camaraderie of our bond would likely make it very strong, given that we had gone through very similar things. I would hope. But I don't know. Being another one of Cater's sisters would be interesting, but being a brother for Cater might also help him a little bit, considering that I think he's the only boy in his family, and maybe he would want a brother. I don't know. Maybe Cater would be delighted. Maybe we could hang out all the time. Maybe it would be such a good time, and then I could just suck it up with Riddle, or I could transfer to Diasomnia, because I have so many friends there. I don't know. Alright, I've made my decision. Riddle shall be my foe, and Cater shall be my family, with Malleus coming in as my friend. Even with Riddle disliking me as the House Warden, I don't see him being overly obnoxious towards me. And also, if it really came down to it, because Malleus is my friend, maybe I could transfer to Diasomnia if it became super unbearable. And I don't think that that would be such a big deal. And then Cater and I can hang out all the time. We can always go to the little cafes. I can indulge his magic habits, which I maybe shouldn't do. But I think that we could have a really good time as family. With all of that, here is our final lineup of all of our friends, family, and foes. It's kind of an even-ish spread, more so than I thought it would be at any rate. However, I suppose that's what happens when you let the wheel decide the matchups. I'm exceptionally curious, though, who you would pick to be your friend, foe, or family out of these character bundles. Please share your picks in the comments below so that we can all see who's the friendliest, foeiest, and familiest character out there. Also, if you liked this video, please let me know with a like or a comment or maybe even a subscribe. And before you go, I'd just like to remind you that you're amazing, and I hope you have a wonderful day.